Pierce driving on Stoudemire. The jumper, yes! With 0.4 of a second left.
You can hire girlfriends for the
Stop,
day.
man.
I went on the website and I'd hire a
Look right
girlfriend
here. Look, Collins. There go Collins. Look at D Wade at the game.
One of the cool things that I've noticed lately is the comeback of Paul Pierce. It's not really being talked about, but I truly feel it. So in Boston, Paul was a legend, right? 10-time All-Star, 2008 champion, Finals MVP. I mean, they definitely milked that championship a lot, but that team was dominant. And the coolest thing to me about Paul's career was just how clutch he really was. Paul was the dude you wanted taking the game winner. I mean, he did it so many times with the Celtics. With the Wizards, he called the game, and with the Clippers, he, led the league in golf claps. I don't know, but Paul, first ballot Hall of Famer, NBA 75th anniversary team. I mean, again, he was the truth. He was a legend. And I think the thing that every athlete deals with is how to transition after you play. And Paul, it seemed pretty easy, right? He was going to ESPN to being a talking head. He'd be on that halftime show and the post-game show with Jalen Rose. But it felt like Paul Pierce's mission with ESPN was to literally destroy his own reputation. It started off with Paul declaring that he had a better career than Dwayne Wade, and Jalen Rose rightfully bodied him because there's just no argument, at all. I don't even want to go do the compares. I don't even think a First Take or an Undisputed would pick up that debate, because there is none. And so the internet laughed at Paul. He became a meme a little bit. And then Paul took it on his own to ruin one of his most iconic moments, which was that wheelchair game in the NBA Finals in 2008, right? He goes down, hope looks lost for the Celtics, he gets wheelchaired out, and then 10-15 minutes later, crowd goes wild because Paul returns, enters the game, hits a three, on their way to an NBA championship. So Pierce basically said on camera, well, I actually had to go to the bathroom. And again, everybody laughed. I don't know why he said it. Just another thing to make people just mock him and forget what an incredible player he was. And then his final straw at ESPN was when he went on Instagram Live and he was probably drunk and on whatever. Girls were in the background, drugs were in the background, I think, for 600 views. And ESPN's a Disney company, so Paul Pierce got fired. And then it was all right, now what? He did a DraftKings commercial. I think he was an investor in a marijuana company. All things that were just kind of is that where you're trying to head, Paul? And then he joined Kevin Garnett's podcast, KG Certified, which is pretty good because Garnett's very talented. And Paul just looked rough. I don't know how to say it or describe it, but in his face, he just didn't look healthy. I mean, even during the playoffs last year, Paul comes in, I think he was drunk. I'm not going to completely assume, but Garnett's trying to talk about the playoff game they're watching, and Pierce keeps interrupting and mentioning that you can buy girlfriends on the internet for a day because some random girl was in the room with Pierce, and just was such a bad look. It felt like Pierce was going down a very, very dark path, and Garnett was embarrassed, and as a Celtics fan, quite honestly, I felt pretty sad. I mean, he was my hero growing up. I mean, even more than a guy like Tom Brady. Paul Pierce was who I looked up to, so seeing Paul in this way, being mocked, people now saying he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer because of all the damage that he's done to his reputation. And so felt like rock bottom. But then something changed. And to me, it felt like it was Paul Pierce's true involvement with the Boston Celtics again. I think it started, specifically with a commercial that he did with Jason Tatum for like this C-rate Best Buy discounted TV. Mike Breen was in the commercial. It was hilarious. Like, it was Paul basically saying that he could have done better at all of Tatum's accomplishments.
Yo, Truth, it's been an hour.
If you got a ring, you get to sing.
It was funny. He was funny, and I think it sort of domino effect a bunch of really cool things. And then Pierce, I think, formed a relationship with Jason Tatum, and they worked together the whole summer in Los Angeles. And while Pierce was helping Tatum kind of take that next step, I think Tatum, in kind of being back with basketball and being held accountable, did Paul Pierce so much good. He mentioned that he lost like 20 pounds, was playing every day, got back into the gym. And you could just see it in his face and his demeanor. He looked healthier. He looked happier, and Paul became more just a fixture with the Celtics again. When preseason started, Pierce was at all the practices, taking his patented corner threes, challenging Cassell, the coaches, having that swagger back, that confidence that made Pierce so infectious as a player. It was all back. I really felt it. And it was just awesome. I mean, Paul feels like he's like the ambassador for the Celtics, much like Drake is for the Toronto Raptors. And Pierce and KG continued to collab, but Pierce just seemed so much better at like the job. KG certified, merged with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, and just certified smoke was the show. Hilarious, the four of them together. And Pierce sitting there with his shades on, telling hilarious stories and giving pretty cool insights. This was the Pierce that I wanted to see and that I felt was so lacking a couple years back, and even within the last year. He was funny. It was awesome. And then in sort of like a full circle moment, the competitor that fired Pierce, the other competitor hired him. Because Pierce has been on Undisputed, Skip Bayless's show, and he's in there, he's looking healthy, happy, just energy and incredible basketball insights. Like, he is fully fit for this job, and I'm seeing, comments on YouTube clips, and in general, he's getting praise for what he's providing to the audience. Just strong opinions. He's not completely biased on the Celtics. I'm truly enjoying what he has to say as much as I truly did not enjoy him on ESPN. It's like being back with the Celtics, falling in love with the game of basketball, has gotten Pierce back, on the up. And again, it's amazing to see. He's, a hero of mine growing up, and I love he's back with the Celtics. I feel like I'm seeing with Tatum some Paul Pierce moves, his mid-range game. It's great, and I hope Pierce stays doing this, stays being fully involved with the Celtics. They love him too, and just keeps doing great things because Paul is great.